Welcome to the weekend. I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute. Excuse me. And also your devil's advocate. All right. Tonight's job is pretty simple. Two men I plan to get fired by the end of this program. From the Denver Post, the editorial editor, Dan Haley. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And the editorial editor from the Colorado Springs Gazette, Laugesen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Putty right now. Putty.
Go bring it. I'm ready.
No, I'm just curious. So does every day start with a phone call to Dean Singleton pleading for your job, or do you just say, what can I do for you today, master?
Well, the day actually starts, we talk about how can we make Jon Caldara really mad at us.
You've been successful.
And that's how we start our day.
You've been successful for 20 years now. Congratulations. Actually, what I thought I'd do is try to lift the veil off of what happens on the editorial page. And fortunately, you guys are less relevant now than ever before.
Which is why we're on your show.
Yeah, which is
the least relevant show on Channel 12.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. But would you guys agree that the power of the editorial page, or maybe it's wrong, it used to be that the editorial page, getting the editorial page endorsement on any local issue especially, was just paramount to success. Is it still that way now with the advent of the internet and nobody reading the papers anymore? And I mean nobody.
I'd like to think so. I know that I've been told that you couldn't get anything done in Colorado Springs in the past unless you had the Gazette behind it, and that it's not quite that way anymore. But I've also heard that it's becoming more that way. Again, that there's sort of a rebound of the editorial voice of the newspaper. I don't really know why that is. I'm glad to hear it. I know that we still have a lot of requests for support of various ballot measures, a lot of people wanting to come in and meet with us and pitch us on ideas, and they'll travel long distances to do it. So we must have some influence for whatever reason.
But it's true, on local issues, even when the Daily Camera endorsed me, a million years ago to run for the RTD board, and it was because of me, it wasn't because my opponent was a convicted felon, I swear. Actually, he was a convicted felon.
That guy up in Netherlands, right?
Yeah, the guy up in Netherlands. Anyway, but I mean, you had Obama come by and McCain, didn't you? Or just McCain?
We actually had John McCain come by. Barack Obama did not come by to see us. In fact, Barack Obama stopped doing editorial page endorsements during the general election because when he did them in the primary, every paper he went to endorsed Hillary Clinton. So he absolutely stopped going to those. But anyway, I think that our influence has not waned at all, even though our subscriber numbers have gone down. The number of people who come to the Denver Post for news has never been higher in the history of the Denver Post because they're going online. And I would argue that because of all the different arguments and opinions and different things that are out online through blogs and web, these news sites that come up that are paid for either by Republican interests or Democratic interests, I think our opinion becomes more valuable because we're somebody who can cut through the clutter of all the noise that's on the internet. You know who we are. You know where we're located.
I know who you are.
Well, no, seriously. There's these websites that pop up, and you're not quite sure who they are, who pays for them. You know where we are, how to find us, who our advertisers are. There's something to be said for that clarity.
I see two different elements in the editorial page. One, I see the column that is, this is the Gazette. This is our opinion of record. Here's the Denver Post. Here's our sidebar. These are house editorials. You guys don't. You actually name yours, I think.
Yeah, it's called Our View.
Right. Okay. And so
which really infuriates the people in the newsroom who don't think it's their view.
It's not their view because it's really just your view.
Pretty much my view.
And then you have a smattering of different columnists, some local, some national, depending on who you fired that week. Let's talk about the House editorial, because that when I run campaigns, I go to the Denver Post, I say, here's my position, and you say, terrific, now we know to go against it.
Right.
And that's worked really well so far for you guys. But who makes that decision? We always hear this editorial board. Explain. Let's take it to the Gazette. Is there an actual editorial board? Do you guys meet? Or is it just that the owner of the paper, the publisher, calls you up on Monday and says, here's our opinion for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Things have changed at the Gazette quite a bit. When I started there 2.5 years ago, we were owned by a family. It's the Freedom Communications owns the Gazette. It's the 10th largest media company in the United States. And it was owned by a libertarian family. Very dedicated to that philosophy, and my job was to defend their philosophy, which came very naturally for me. And I did have a board. It was me, the publisher, and then I had at-large members of the community who I appointed, and I tried to appoint people
mother,
on the left.
your uncle.
No, my first two appointments, one was a minority teacher of, someone on the far left. The other was a lesbian activist in the community. Because these are some voices we were often accused of not hearing. So I wanted to bring some diversity to the board. At the very least, they could poke holes in our arguments, which they did very well. It helped us make sounder limited government libertarian arguments. And we are not owned by that family anymore. We went through a Chapter 11 reorganization. We are still defending a libertarian, limited government, pro-individual philosophy.
But no more lesbians? So this is why I don't get your paper anymore. Once you got rid of the lesbians,
that board member was tremendously helpful. A very highly educated person who brought Ivy League credentials to the board, and so we still have board meetings, not as many as we used to. I meet every Monday with the publisher, Steve Pope, in his office, and we sometimes have guests in, and we work out generally what we're going to do that week, and then it changes as things change in the news, and we email back and forth an awful lot and work it out.
The Post doesn't have the same sort of Howard Stern vibe that it does down at the Springs, but the same thing. You have a board of, are they community activists? Are they? They're writers.
Right. We have a board of about 5 core people who meet every morning. 2 editorial writers, 2 columnists, and myself, and we hash out the issues of the day.
Same people all the time?
Same people all the time, from varying walks of life and political persuasions and everything else. And so we sit and we talk about the issues of the day, and we talk about what the Denver Post ought to say, what the House opinion ought to be, and we try to keep it in a, when the Rocky Mountain News was around, the Denver Post was always considered sort of the left of center newspaper. The Rocky was considered the right of center newspaper. I've been the editorial page editor since 2007, and my goal has been to be a strong, independent, centrist voice for Colorado. We don't care what's good for Republicans. We don't care what's good for Democrats. We ask ourselves constantly, what do we think is good for Colorado? Sometimes that can lead to some schizophrenic opinions, or sometimes we're on the left, sometimes we're on the right.
So for instance, when I come in this fall and talk to you about our healthcare choice initiative, which I know the Denver Post is going to be excited about, I will meet with those 5 members, and you're going to love it. You're going to endorse it. But does it just take those 5? So is it a fair one vote takes one person, one vote?
We very rarely have votes. What we try to do is reach a consensus among, and I try to reach that, try to build that consensus among the people in the room. Dean Singleton is the owner and publisher of the Denver Post. He is the CEO of Media News Group, which is the 2nd largest newspaper publisher in the country. He lives in Denver. He's based in Denver. The Denver Post is his flagship paper. He is also a member of the editorial board. He is also, he's not there every day. He's a busy man running the 2nd biggest newspaper publishing company in the country. But he has a voice and a vote, should he want one. It's his newspaper. But by and large, he leaves us to our own, and we do our work every day and try to come up with opinions that we know.
Are these board members secret?
No, we're listed every day in the bottom of the.
So it's you,
it's me, Vincent Carroll, David Harsani, Alicia Caldwell, and Chuck Plunkett. Now, on the bottom of our editorial stack, we also list our news editor Barbara Ellis, our letters editor Cohen Pert, and our cartoonist Mike Keefe. Now, on big endorsements like presidential endorsements, those folks will file into the room and want to have a voice in what we're talking about. But generally, on a day-to-day basis, it's the 5 earlier ones that I named.